Hello and welcome. I'm Zilla, and this is my stream where I play video games with Ancient Studies content and talk about it. It's called Ancient Gaming. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back. Please feel free to say hello in chat, where we currently have at least one internet meme. So, today we'll be playing possibly the end, I guess, I'm not sure, of I Am Dead, a cute little game where we are a ghost of a museum curator on the North Atlantic island of Shelmerston in a slightly alternate universe in which there are many different kinds of people. Human people, bird people, fish people, fruit people, and who knows what else. We have learned that our island is protected by a local guardian who communes with the island spirit to keep the volcano from exploding and destroying the whole town. If you do want to go back and watch the previous streams, you can find all of my streams and all of my other videos down on my YouTube channel, which is down there somewhere. All my socials down there, you can follow me. And yeah, let's jump right in. We are at the point of going off to meet Aggi, the Bronze Age Isle inhabitant who is revered by the local fish people for having sacrificed herself to become the island's custodian. I believe we are about to find out a great deal more about Bronze Age Shelmerston, which I'm very excited about. Ah yes, so the Shelmerston Museum. We finally get to look around. I could be a little bit more excited if we were actually going to the dig, but who knows, maybe we'll actually get to see some of it. I don't know. Pardon me. Now here we are in the museum. We have a Morlo. Oh, hello, the Morlo. Aw, little manatee. So, let's see what we can see. We've got the Morlo Cull and the Save the Morlo movement here. Oh, this is our front desk, I see. Off to... Oh. I know I can see it from somewhere. Ah! Stop it! Off to the side there is our little memorial table with the ashes of our beloved dog and now psychopomp, Sparky. And, I believe our own. So, here we've got, the sort of normal intro to the museum stuff, a couple little pieces of kish you can buy, friendly receptionist, little brochures and pins, all of the things that you want at the beginning of the museum. We've got an exhibit on the wreck of the HMS Mentor, so one of the early boats. The legend of the camel and all of its outcomes. The camel mysteriously appearing on the island. Got on the other side. The Festival of the Sea. Okay, so this is Aggi's Day, which we were talking about before. The Tiapucatan migration. So the bird people. Fascinating. Oh, and we have a map. Oh, look at this map. Tiapucatan have migrated to Shelmerston. They came here to lay their eggs. Oh wow, so they follow along the Mediterranean all the way across from Indian Ocean up to... Looks like we're just south of Ireland here. So that's cool. There's a diving bell. The lighthouse. An exhibit on fishing. The Sheller Cup. The local sport. Knitting. Fancy knitting. Ooh, and here we have our Bronze Age exhibit with, I suppose, an illustration that's meant to be Aggi. Oh! It's David Abrahams! It's David Abrahams! Aww! Greg did a really nice job taxidermying him. I want to go around the other side so that we see the Bronze Age exhibit last. God, I love museums. We have the Silver Band, the marching band, the Awful Clyde, or the Serpent, I suppose. Cabinet of Curiosities. Rare materials relating to the weirder aspects of Shelmerston's history. Well, there sure are some weird things in here. I wonder... Wow, that's very curious. I don't know what this is all about. What this guy is. I like him. This looks like a menorah more than anything else. Oh. There's a relief map. Okay, that's cute. The vegetable grow-off. I assume these are the most recent winners, rather than preserved specimens.
Well, don't suppose I'll ever look at Aggi's room the same way again, will I?
Morris, take a look at those skulls, please.
The skulls? But they have memories inside them? Oh, that's rather morbid, Sparky.
Not quite. Look, I didn't explain this before because I felt things were confusing enough, but that slicing is a bit more powerful than I've led you to believe.
Oh, well, what do you mean?
Well, we aren't limited to memories of people who are alive. People are bounded by time, but memories aren't. Check it out.
Fascinating. So I guess this is a replica of Aggi? But it's way too well preserved to be an actual person from the Bronze Age. I'm very confused about it though. So we have some metal artifacts here. You can tell they're metal because of the rusting. They're kind of oddly made. I wonder what they're made out of. I mean, I suppose they're supposed to be made of bronze, but these shapes are, well, you know, it's probably just the animation. These shapes are very strange for beaten bronze with these, like, very rigid, angular shapes. They look more like modern steelcraft than anything else, but assuredly they're not meant to be. So you have representations of people and animals. Got a little crab, a morlo, a horse, a deer, probably a person. Then on this side we have some more tool-like objects. These could be coins. Probably what they're meant to be, but not every society has a currency, and not every currency works the way that our modern money does. This looks like some kind of a, I don't know, maybe some kind of an anchor or a hook. And then we have some bone pieces. You can tell by the contrasting color and the lack of rust, the kind of things that are made out of them. we've got arrowheads, and then we've got, and those are metal, and then we've got these bone, probably fish hooks, combs, and what looks like a calendar with the hatch marks. And these are not all human skulls. That's probably a fish person skull. I'm actually really interested in that. Oh, the Bog Lady of Shelmerston. Well, I guess that's one way to get a mummy. You know, bog people do not look this well preserved. It would be very odd, indeed, to see something that looks like a fully fleshed deceased human after multiple thousands of years. But oh, and I didn't even mention this bone flute. That's lovely. It's an interesting design where the holes are not in a straight line. That's unusual. I wonder if that means that it's made for different hands than human. Okay, let's check out this skull. Superbly preserved by the peach it was dug from. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, we can actually see what these are. A camel? Really? It doesn't look... I guess it's a camel. It looks like a crab. That's a gremkin. Okay, I would take that. Deer, horse. Okay, what do you make of this thing? Oh, it's a torque. It's a necklace. Arrowheads. Do they think these are coins? Yep. Bone hooks. Calendar. Needles. Those are way too big to be needles. Which is not to say that it isn't the style of needles that you see from the Bronze Age. It absolutely is, especially if you're making sails. Something large. It's Aggi! I am very relieved that we can't actually see through Aggi. Okay, so let's see some ancient memories. That's not ancient.
Oh, I didn't think dead stomachs could get queasy, but here we are. Where are we, Sparky?
When are we, Morris?
This is Aggie's time.
Shelmerston in Aggie's time. You should be able to find some memories of her here.
Really? That is not a Bronze Age style of hat I have ever seen anywhere.
You are some dog, Sparky.
Okay, so I can go back to the museum. So we have weapons and hunting gear. We have different style of clothing. We've got a village hut with a chieftain. Appears to be an old woman. Is that it? Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this hat. That is a very modern looking hat. The wrap could be any time, really, and the necklace as well. It looks like it's gold. And I'm not sure what the pendant is, but that we've seen that they have pretty advanced metalworking from the artifacts that we do have. So can we zoom in on any of the hunting? No? So let's see. What can we see of what they're hunting? They've got two kinds of hides strung up here. And surprising variation of size. Usually, you don't hunt the young animals. You want to hunt primarily aging bucks, or does too old to bear children, just to maintain the herd population. So we have some interesting naming conventions: Lomel, Burwall, Aggi, and what was her name? Unap. So I don't know of any language grouping where those would be normal names altogether. Una and Aggi seem to go together, and Lomel and Burwall kind of go together. They don't very much seem to be either, you know, the sort of Germanic, Anglo or Saxon or whatever else. They also don't seem to be very Celtic. And I mean, the torque that we saw in the museum display is a little bit Celtic, a little bit, just because torques are very common. But the style of the metal artifacts was not anything in particular. The hooked fishing spears really, we can't see enough of them for me to see anything very distinctive about them. Nothing I'm seeing here really strikes me as a particular culture. It feels a little generic, is what I'm trying to say. That arrow target probably either carved straight out of the tree or made out of straw. Dried grasses. We do have some ceramics here, and they do seem to have geometric patterns, which is a very normal Bronze Age thing for this area, and for most of Europe, really. We see kind of a concentric ring pattern. I wish I could zoom in more. I'm a little curious about the arrow make, but I can't zoom in, so I don't know. But you know, they have some basic tech, and then the hut looks pretty sturdy. This construction doesn't strike me as normal for this area of the world. You know, we do see buildings with this sort of low roof in, well, I guess it is potentially a high precipitation area, and that's often what these sort of low thatched roofs are about. I'm used to seeing them more in East Asian design than in North Atlantic, but I'm not an expert in the North Atlantic Bronze Age. The pillars in the front of the hut are fascinating. They're probably carved wood. I can't zoom in on them either. Yanya. That's almost a Slavic sounding name. But the brightly painted pillars, I mean, people then and now everybody loves decoration. I wish we could see more of the village to compare this hut to others, since this is apparently the chieftain's hut. They do have the sort of straw brooms that you do see throughout the ages, really. You can see a single curved bow, not a recurve, which is correct for this time. They do have metalworked axes, which, yeah, Bronze Age you do start seeing metalworked axes with wooden hafts, as opposed to stone axes. I'm interested in these ring shapes. That's not anything I recognize from our world, for sure. And these poles, they look like they're probably ceremonial in some sense. So let's find out what's going on with Unap and the kids. Peebly and Anya. Again, Anya, a Slavic sounding name. So Unap, one of the village elders, widely respected for her advice and wisdom, teaching the younglings. You see the multicolored furs. That's probably a fox fur. That's very common in this area. But again, with the apron design is something I associate more with like Russian design, Slavic design. Although the overcloak here looks very Celtic to me. And not just because it's green, but the design looks a lot more Celtic than what Unap is wearing, or even what Anya is wearing. The sleeves that she has, I don't think I've ever seen depictions of fabric like that from the Bronze Age. We can see a little bit more of the domestic pottery here. We've got more of the sort of concentric geometric decorations on the pots. They're still very plain for a chieftain. This long-handled pot, clearly for holding something over the fire, maybe boiling tea. Well, not literal tea, not in this part of the world in the Bronze Age, but... Well, maybe if the Teapuketans come up here. I don't know. So, let's hear from Unap.
It was the worst night in the world when Aggi was born. It began in the old village, the one swept away by the rivers of fire. The ground shook and the earth split open and spat sparks. The sun hid and the huts burst into flame as we fled.
Okay, so the volcano has erupted before. With as small as the island is, it must have been a pretty small eruption for them to be able to survive it and rebuild. Although maybe they fled to a nearby island, I don't know. Can see more of the huts in that same direction. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Her accent, again, strikes me as more Slavic than Germanic or Celtic, which is interesting.
I thought we would all die. Everyone washed in the burning orange death. And Aggi's mother howling with the pain of the child coming.
Yeah, I don't think that's very likely.
As far as the cliff top by the sea. The mountain was still roaring and roaring. The rock ran in rivers toward the sea. The air smelled of death and poison.
Yeah, that looks like a modern hoodie. I've never seen that kind of design in ancient cloth work.
But Aggi
or
was
paintings of it.
perfect. Small and angry, her tiny fists pummeling the air. I used my knife to cut the cord.
Okay, well, we've seen this knife hanging in the museum. I didn't point it out. I didn't know it was meant to be a knife. I thought it was organic
We
material
chose
the way
a
the
spot
handle's
for
crafted.
the new village, closer to the beach. The burning rivers cooled to pumice and black glass. I made sure everyone knew that a life that began in this way would be special. Not everyone believed me, but Aggi proved me right.
I mean, Aggi, the name Agatha comes from a Greek word, agatha, meaning good, agate. But Aggi is definitely a sound combination you could have in this part of the world, something you might find. I mean, just compared to Maggie, you know, a more common Hibernian
My
name.
goodness. Giving birth like that must have been awful. What a terrifying situation.
Would be pretty terrifying. Convinced you're gonna die in two different ways.
No, I'm pretty sure I've seen that knife before. Back at the
More
museum,
so.
I reckon.
Okay, Morris.
Was it Agatha all along? No, I don't think so. So we can travel back to the past there. So we saw these bone hooks being used on the spears. So let's just waiting for Katie to be done so they can go out and play. I don't know where Katie is, but oh, that kind of needle. Oh, they're knitting needles. Oh, I get it now. I thought they were sewing needles. Ahaha. Fancy steels. Those don't look like steel. Maybe that's a knitting term I'm not familiar with. I don't know how to knit. Wolves sheared from the herd of Shelmerston Texels, which were first brought to the island 300 years ago. So no sheep in the Bronze Age times. I like that they have a diagram over here. Oh, I can look at it. Oh, interesting. So we've got three sort of what I would expect sort of traditional Gansey patterns. I'm not familiar with the word Gansey, but like fisherman sweaters, these I've seen. This one's very interesting. I mean, I'm drawn to it because it has the Star of David on it, which I don't think was intentional necessarily. I've seen no other Jewish artifacts on this island, but it feels very different than the other three to me. I want to look at the map. Ah, look at that. So we're looking at it upside down. This is actually facing the correct direction with north being up. So look how small this island is. They must have fled all the way over here to start their new village. Or maybe they're saying that they fled up here and that's where the Bronze Age dig was. I don't know. Little miniature lighthouse. Kind of means that we can click on that separately. There's a diagram of... Ooh. Interesting. They actually bothered to make the table reflect the magma and everything. That's fascinating. But there's a little diagram of how the layers of the earth are shaped around here. So you can see lots of little dots where the plate of the world has shifted over the hotspot here. I love maps. Maps are so cool. Mile Humboldt's shell. He donated it. I kind of love it. Who's in here? Sally Mapes! Oh, she's back! I thought she was leaving. Welks. Photography by Greg Litherland. We can see a lot of the island's history is preserved here, just like Morris wanted. We have a fishing trawler, just like we've seen out there. Algar. fish person. Last name is Gar. Got all sorts of sea equipment. Fish of the North Atlantic. I don't know if this is accurate. I don't know a lot about fish populations, but certainly we've got some flounder and halibut. Yeah, I don't know enough about fish to really talk about this, but it's interesting. Can tell where I don't know. Oh, hey, what's that? Miscellaneous volcanic rocks from 1986. Ooh, look, they're so pretty. There's a shiny one. Ooh. Oh, it's got patterns on it. Oh, I like this one. Piece of obsidian, I guess. That's probably going to be something we need. Ken wearing a Gansey, a traditional Gansey. We saw this pattern. History of the lighthouse. Previous lighthouse keepers, ending with our friend. Scale model. Oh, it's that guy again. I never did figure out how that works. I have no idea. Well, we can try. Oh, they're in here somewhere? I would assume that they're in here. No? I've got no idea. Stone. Oh, wow. It's in the shape of a sleeping dragon? Oh, it's so cute. Got some barnacles. Okay, so the Shelmerston Stone is the center of local legend. Fish folk believe it is the sacrificial seat of a mythological figure called Aggi, said to have saved the island from destruction in ancient times. Stone sat near the beach in the grounds of Outram Hall until it was sold to a collector and loaded on the HMS Mentor for transport to the British Museum. That dang British Museum keeps stealing stuff. Buying it. Blah. Doesn't belong in the British Museum. It belongs in a local museum. Or in situ. Pardon me. I might have some opinions. After the Mentor sank, it lay on the seabed for almost 200 years before being recovered, curiously unaffected by its time underwater. No sea life or corrosion marked its surface. Upon recovery, it was donated to the museum. Some people say it looks like a sleeping dog. Oh. It's supposed to be a sleeping dog, kind of like Sparky. Okay, that's cute. One of the few pieces that can be recovered. The siren, the figurehead. Siren. Originally in Greek myth, the sirens were actually bird women with beautiful voices who sat upon a rock in the sea and lured sailors to their death by singing. But siren has come to be associated with mermaids more than bird women. Festival of the Sea. The Welkin crown. It's got whelks all over it. Worn each year by the Queen of the Sea. Traditionally, the queen is a girl who's judged to have the best sea-themed hairstyle at the previous year's festival. That's awesome. That is awesome. I want to do a sea-themed hairstyle. The Shelmgen marbles. Yes, like that. trinket stuff. Shell. Oh. I didn't know that shells had handedness, but it makes sense now that I've seen it said. Sea bread. The bread was infused with morlo oil. Oh. Okay, olive oil's better. Oh. So we have a competition here between two sea-themed hairdos. A beautiful little shell and a towering anchor. And some stuff about the cricket match. It's awfully close to the shore. It's a good way to lose your cricket balls. Oh, we have... I didn't realize we had a Grinkin model. Oh, good for you. Museums should be free to the public, and you should donate if you can, so that the museum can stay free to the public. Cersei Jackson. What a lovely name, Cersei. Kirke, one of the figures from the Odyssey, was a daughter of Helios and a well-known witch who lived on an island out in the Mediterranean. She's reported to have magical drugs that could turn men into pigs and lions and other creatures which she could control. She was Odysseus impressed her, shall we say? At least this one doesn't seem to have been a rape. Exactly. Probably not. And she let him and all his men go. Not only did she let them go, but she helped them greatly. There's a wonderful book called Circe by Madeline Miller. I really loved it. It's mostly the parts that are mythology are very accurate, and then the parts that she made up are very fitting into this narrative that she wove, and I love it. I love it. I love retellings. I mean, I love wackadoo retellings too, because I adore Maya Dean's Wrath Goddess Sing. I have 2 videos on it. Go watch them. So Cersei's back on Shelmerston after a life away. Her mom worked with the shrimp trawlers. Her dad was from the famous baking family. With that background, I thought she'd be a fish person. Toast and fish. Cersei left the island for university to read history at Cambridge, but didn't finish. Instead, she ran off with the circus and doing her daring equestrian act. Her collection of tutus and spangly leotards is now in the V&A Museum. That's hilarious. She came here looking for quiet life. She loves history. She knows Morris, respects his vision, and is keen to add to the collection a study of the fish people, a history of the Brackenhearth, ethical shrimping. Wow, that actually sounds really cool. I would love to see the museum that she has in mind. I always forget how to do this. There we go. Beg pardon. Alright. So what else we got here? Can't find anything interesting out about the Leaflands. Oh, meet the Bogwoman, the island's oldest resident. Can we actually, like, read it? No. Rude. Oh, it's the Nab Hill brochure. The tangential gaze, new voices from the edge of meaning. Oh, this is the art exhibit. Oh, I love it. Queen of the Isles, ferry, volcano boat tours. Oh, that sounds fun. And the lighthouse. A very comprehensive set. Pencils, erasers, pins. Wait, what's the logo here? Oh, that's actually a very nice logo. The Shelmerston Museum. It's got a little half pediment. Wonder if we can see inside the desk. Got books. Barnacles. No, not Cersei. Oh, it's Cersei. A notepad. Some binders. Museum records. And so we have an exhibit here about the Morlow Cull. Ah, the meat was considered a delicacy, potted and eaten at birthday parties. The bones and hide were used to craft a wide variety of tools, clothing, jewelry, and folk art. So yeah, so when we talked about the Morlow Cull earlier, I was wondering what significance it had for the locals. Traditions like that usually come out of some reasoning, and before there was a lot of trade with the mainland, all year round, because seas during certain times of the year are very choppy, and by mainland I maybe mean Ireland, you know, like could be anything here. It probably was pretty hard to find, you know, decent meat sources, and especially hides. I would not at all be surprised if this was a traditional and even ceremonial thing for instance, the Bronze Age settlers. Nonetheless, when you can prevent more than when harm to animals exceeds what is absolutely necessary, that's not a thing we should continue. You know, I would never want to deny an endangered population and an endangered culture its history and its practices, but at the same time, we shouldn't exactly be encouraging, you know, a bunch of white folks to come and join in and kill all of the carefully managed herds, right? There's balance to be had. Personally, I am not against animal hunting, but I am very leery of the way that we have integrated farming and slaughter into our routine and put it into the background. Factory farming is generally really bad for the environment and causes a lot of pain and suffering that is unnecessary. If I had the time, the access, and the skill, I would probably hunt my own meat rather than buy it from the store. Because I don't like the way that things are done in the meat industry. These are special tools designed. This is a bronze flensing knife. So this might be ancient. So this for cutting bone. This the flensing knife for taking the skin. The harpoon for taking them down in the first place. It's unusual that it had those two types of. This coat is made from the intestines of the Morlow? Huh. That's fascinating. That is very unusual. Intestinal material is not generally good fabric. It's too easily torn, and the texture is not actually great for sewing it together. It's stretchy but not solid. This item is over 100 years old. The lingering aroma? Oh boy. Oh boy. If you've ever encountered badly washed tripe, you know that this is not a great sign. Now, Morlo hide clothing, that I would absolutely believe. And what look like, these are probably wooden buttons, but they could easily be made of bone or shell. Photograph of the Mastodon. We saw that with Greg and Sam. Edwardian Morlo oil lamp. Okay. Oh, okay. So Morlo oil was used. So this is tallow, which is a fat-based oil. Morlo meat. Yeah. Don't assume canned meat lasts forever. It does not. So this is a sign, the slogan of this Happy Sailor meat is a sign that the Morlo cull had become extraneous, that the killing had gotten to be well beyond what was needed for local maintenance. A happy sailor eats Morlo meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's a big change from it was saved for special occasions. Well, yeah, I'm sure. So Morlo oil. So animal fat does do a good job of helping dry skin. I'm not at all surprised that that's listed for flaky scalp. People use anything that they can possibly come up with a reason for aphrodisiacs. Joint pain is a little bit funny. Maybe it's because of the use in flames. So sightings of camels date back to the early 1800s, but there really are there really camels? Look at the evidence. Well, we know there's at least one. I assumed it was brought in recently. Guess not. So, camel pub. Camel life ring. Cast of a camel footprints from a camel on the Shelmerston grounds. Classic Shelmerston nursery rhyme. Put me on the camel, Daisy. Adorable. Okay. The Laird's nose. They found the nose. Okay, that's pretty funny. So, it's just camel artifacts. Camel art. Oh hey, it's the llama brush. The camel brush. Oh, diving bell. Anybody inside? There's a Teopukaton inside here. I wasn't expecting that. Hi. He's trapped in the diving bell. Oh no. Oh, some of the things that were mementos that we found have wound up in here. I thought it was just going to be the camel thing and the nose, but no, here's the engraved mouthpiece. Fascinating. Okay. We're finally at the weird stuff place. Oh, hey! Bosphorus the swimming cat. I guess this is what we needed for the riddle. Bosphorus the Turkish van cat was a local celebrity in Chelmerston. The Turkish van breed is famous for its love of swimming, and Bosphorus was no exception. He could be seen paddling around Chelmerston to the delight of tourists, and even featured an episode of the popular TV show Look West. That's so cute. Kitty, do you like water? She doesn't. She doesn't like water. They named him Bosphorus too, or the Turkish Strait. Oh, I love it. An obsidian mirror, all known from the Laird's private collection. What is this? Jenny Hannaford. This strange creature is actually just a regular skate that has been manipulated and carved into a small imp-like character. During the golden age of sea exploration, unscrupulous sailors would make these and then sell them on their return to Europe, claiming them to be true specimens of exotic creatures. Oh boy. A carved up skate. That's really worrying. So there's that ship in the bottle from the camel. You can actually see it. The candlebirds live on the lighthouse. Candlebird candelabra. I see. Geodes. Beautiful. Is this one orange-red too? No, this one's an amethyst. Okay. But what we're really here for is this bronze ritual knife. No, this design is really interesting to me. It's very much shaped to look like a leaf. It's got that curly end, which you do not see in almost anything. It's clearly very special, like handmade object of probably pounded bronze. And apparently was the knife used at Aggi's birth.
Beautiful. And to think that people had not long stopped using flint tools when this was made.
Yeah, it does seem a bit... It's a very advanced piece for beginning bronze work, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually, you know, not long since flint tools. If it was actually several centuries.
There is so much history in this knife.
Ooh.
I'd love to see what else it got up to.
I'm getting the scent of Grenkins again, Mar.
Yes, yes. So there's Kate. Bosphorus is Kate's favorite thing in the entire museum. I love it. Who's that? Ah, an unemployed grad student. Yes, yes. Okay, the vegetable grow off. You see, one of them is a fruit person. Alistair Pinchwhistle. That's very funny. Okay. I love all this stuff on the walls too, but I can't actually get close enough to see it. What was I going to do? Oh yes. Where was it? Where was that? I think it was in here. Okay. Now I understand. Haha! I finally solved a riddle.
Why,
Yes, you solved it.
I did.
Solve more, solve more.
Oh, okay, Mr. Whitstable. I'll try.
Oh, for goodness sake, Morris, we just...
Happy riddle hunting, riddle threat.
Great.
We have time for Gremkins, but not for riddles. I wonder what else was on there. I didn't actually look. Ah, the encrusted crown. I know where that is. There it is. Okay, I don't really get anything for that, so I guess I'll just move on. But I do feel better knowing at least that I was right about how those things worked. Back to the past. Don't get any information about who this person is. But their dress looks a little bit more Celtic than the last. This is Unap's hut again. We're in the same relative position. And oh hey, it's that guy. Gathering sticks for Unap's fire. There are quail here? We haven't heard anything about quail. And they're keeping goats, and are those dogs or... Oh my gosh, look at those weird goats. Maybe those are just baby goats. I don't know. Yeah, I guess those are just baby goats. Riding goats. Herding goats. Holding goats. Boona. I guess maybe... Oh, that's a chicken. That's different from the quail. Oh. So this is a more sort of European style of clothing with the sort of the wrapped tunic and leggings and the wrapped boots as well. And cloaks, also something I would expect to see. Looks like he has a knife. No knowing what kind of knife that is, sheathed. More museums should have scavenger hunts run by ghosts. Yes, I agree. There's definitely some kind of livestock pen there in the middle. Oh, we have different column toppers out here. Interesting. So a little bit more of the village. Oh hey, it's the rock. Here it is. The ceremonial stone. As long as anyone can remember, this carved stone has been the spiritual heart of the island where offerings are made. Children are blessed and the dead are honored. Oh, and we have fish folk. Oh, and this is the priestess's hut. We have a priestess, Safi, who's working with the fish folk. So, priestess, wise woman, witch, all of these are generally words for someone who performs some kind of ceremonial healing. Depending on the culture, what that healing looks like can take different forms. I thought we had Unap's hut way over on the other side. Just gonna go back over for my sense of location. Yes, we do. Okay. So this is Unap's hut. And pretty close to it, but on the other side of our ability to search, we have the priestess's hut. With, instead of columns, we have bright painted wood. Turk is one of the few fish people to regularly visit the village and share knowledge with the villagers. DJ Trindlebutt, does this mean this takes place after the invention of toast? We haven't seen any evidence of bread here, or of grain growing, so possibly not. But it does seem that the fish folk have a longer relationship with humans than previously
Of
thought.
course, we watched her. We had heard of her birth and seen her on the shore. Her feet sometimes in the seawater, her body in the sun.
It seems they knew Aggi was special from the beginning. We do have to remember that the fish folk celebrate Aggi's Day, so that I guess makes sense.
We did not show ourselves at first. As a test, we left the mirror on the black shore, born of the volcano on the same day as her, and waited to see what would happen, to see if it called to her.
Interesting.
She picked it up, turned it from side to side. She took it home. The next time I saw her, I introduced myself. We sang together, and I showed her how the mirror worked.
Worked?
How if you emptied your mind and thought of air and light and sea, you would see things in its surface. How things would unfurl
I guess
in the
this is a
future.
world where scrying works.
Aggi was better at mirror gazing than any of us sea folk.
That's fascinating.
She saw a girl, her own daughter not yet born, as leader of the dry folk. I told Aggi to keep on gazing into that mirror, that one day the island would need something more than a leader.
Fascinating.
Oh, I had a box of rocks that looked like that mirror somewhere. Where did I put it?
I know where it is, but I'm surprised he doesn't have more to say about the mirror gazing. Is this just a known thing? Can't be, or they'd have thought the... I'm a little baffled by that. No, not this way. This way. There we are. Well, Morris, did you ever gaze into the rocks and find that they spoke to you? I did wonder about these beautiful curling patterns.
Bro, this...
Huh. Very cool. Oh. Right. I suppose we could look for a Gremkin. There we are. Not gonna hunt up too many Gremkins, because I do want to get to the other items, and I talked for a long time today. Okay, let's find out what's next. Some child. So Safi is cleaning and blessing the stone. There's Safi's hut. There's some more huts. Rupa has just finished weaving this fine blanket. So we have weaving technology, and they do have lovely patterns, which I'm surprised we don't see more of. So, old and rich. Weekly conclave. So this is some kind of like a council governance that involves everyone on the island, a collective. are back at the hunter's camp. Meat is giving Anya a bow lesson. Lomel is sharpening his harpoon, and Burwell is preparing dried Morlo meat. Okay, that's the end of... So... Let's find out about Ibni. Aggi's daughter. Very cool.
I was always fearless. My mother Aggi told me there was nothing I couldn't do. With Otsul and without, I hunted the deer in the woods and the hares on the mountain, all before I had taken my first lover.
The monogamous and patriarchal ways of the modern and honestly pre-modern days are not universal at all. There's no indication that women in these islands were not warriors. There's no indication that they were in any way lesser or less free in their lovers than anyone else. This hairstyle is really interesting. She's got the sort of the shaved head with the mohawk. I wouldn't expect to see exactly that, but this part of the world does a lot with woad makeup, blue facial patterns, stripes on the arms. So I kind of feel like the interpretation is a little bit inspired by that. I don't know.
And younger
Maybe
still.
that's just me wanting
One
to see
time
it.
Aggi had me knock her tooth out when she was in terrible pain. I didn't mind even when the blood poured out. It was easy for me.
That's a little creepy, gotta admit.
Spears and knives were my nature. Death and courage were my meat and drink. I knew about Aggi's mirror, of course, but did not believe all of it. When Aggi warned us the Mauler was sick and there would be fewer calves for the following years, none of us listened. It was to be my first cull. I wanted their blood. It was my nature. We would not take less of the Morlo just because an old woman told us to.
Learn the seasons, learn the cycles, and if the Morlo are sick, let them be.
She
or there
came
will
to
be
the
fewer
beach
in
after
future.
the Morlo slaughter. Her hair wild, eyes burning with fury. Raged and shouted like a woman out of her mind. We had killed too many, she said. Then she left the village. Told us she was done with all of us. Forever. As Otsul marked me with oil and blood, I did not mourn my mother leaving. I was young and foolish, and the sight of her ashamed me. But of course, I did not see what was to come.
A famine, I assume.
To think that they were still having the same arguments about the Morlo way back in the Bronze Age.
Aggie must have sensed the trouble ahead. Maybe she was trying to find a way to prevent it.
Alright, well, we've seen that. All the way in the front. On the side here. My cat is yelling at the Morlo.
What a beautiful object. Delighted to have it in our museum.
I really wonder about the context in which it was found. Starting on the other side here. visions of the past. What a great time. It'd be really neat if we could do that. Okay, so this is a similar moment to where we just were. Nab's hut. Uva and Nyanya are getting married. Aww. I'm more worried about the fact that Uv seems a lot older than her, but you know, whatever. They'll work it out. I don't know them. Ah, looks like we're going into the livestock pens. Oh, it's a fish person. Wait, sorry. Goats and fish folk have a long-standing bond. I wonder what that is. Oh, this world is so interesting to me. Okay, so we had Kirk with 2 R's, and then we have
She
Kirk
was
with
alone,
1 R.
and I would bring her food sometimes. Samphire
they're
and
missing
sea
some
urchins.
I don't know.
She would make dry food and we would eat it together. Textures unlike any we knew that broke apart in your hands and in your mouth.
So, not toast, but other dry food.
We would sing together, make tea together. We became her family. The dry folk left her alone.
Oh. Well, all right. At least she wasn't alone. I think goats invented toast. Yeah, I bet that's
She
what
had
it
a
is.
companion for a few seasons, a hind, who came down from the mountain and slept at her fire. And then, for a few more, a golden hare that ate from her hand.
Wow. That's pretty trusting for wildlife, but
One night we all felt it. Those of us in the water and those above. The island waking, rumbling, alive again, more furious than before. I found Aggie awake, tending her fire, unsleeping, unresting, staring into her mirror. She told me she'd seen the island sinking into orange fire and boiling sea, lost forever above and below. The village and our town in the sea caves, all gone.
I'm not surprised there.
Aggie went to the shore and blew the sinistral shell, calling our people up from the water. Aggie sang for them, the oldest song, and we spoke for some time. That night, the sea and sky was all the same color, a deep grey blue like a mackerel's back without the glitter.
A very sea folk metaphor.
As the dawn approached, Aggie left the beach to return to her people, to tell them what must be done.
I'm not sure I want to see what happens next.
We have to, Morris.
Pretty sure I know what comes next. All right. Where was that sinistral shell? Was it over here, actually? Yeah. Sinistral comes from the Latin sinister, just meaning left. Dexter,
Such a
right hand,
small
sinister,
thing.
left hand.
But it changed the entire course of our island.
Pardon me. All right. That is a fish person skull. I was right. Kirk, I guess. past the goat pens, past the rock, past the priestess's hut. Otzel is telling a serial story. That's excellent. So Otzel is a sort of proto-bard. Everybody throughout history has always loved stories. Sometimes they mean little frivolities, like we think of them now. And sometimes they are the highest treasure that can possibly be found. In ancient Greece, for example, your reputation, your glory, your kleos, which could only be granted you by the singers, by the stories they told, by having your name known through the ages. That was the highest honor you could attain. So this appears to be pretty much everyone in the village. I wondered if we might be able to learn a little bit more about our villagers, but it looks like not. So let's just see him telling his stories about Aggi.
We heard the shell and knew Aggi had returned. Ibni was the leader then. It had taken many seasons, more than we would have liked, but there were finally enough Morlo again, and our village was growing. We were strong.
Yep, the Morlo died off from overharvesting in a bad year, and the village suffered.
Some of the younger ones didn't know Aggi and didn't want to hear her. Called her a moon-shotten crone, but Ibni looked in her mother's face and saw the truth of it. The end would come. The earth was growling again. There would be hot rivers of death and clouds of poison.
I'm glad that they were able to reconcile. Not everybody gets to. I wonder what moonshotten means. I mean, I think here it's a reference to the idea of lunacy, which is madness sent from the moon, quite literally Luna, or the moon. Moonstruck, another thing that touches on mental dysregulation and the moon. I don't know why we associate mental dysregulation and the moon across so many cultures. Maybe just because it's beautiful and fascinating and hard to understand if you don't have a great understanding of astronomy. That's the word I want. But I've never heard moonshotten. It's a weird formation.
But Aggi
Probably
brought us the
British.
answer. She would give herself to the island. Ibni's voice shook. Surely a deer or a goat would be enough. The year's finest, blackest calf. Aggi cast down her eyes and shook her head. We all knew. I offered my blade, but Aggi turned me away. She took her knife that had cut her own cord the night the volcano last erupted and wrapped Ibni's fingers tight around the bone hilt. It must be you, Ibni, she said, and it must be now, before the sun comes up. This day, this morning, or we are all gone. The village, the people, the island.
A task she was born for, apparently. I don't know why this would make sense from a human sacrifice it's not very common, but it isn't unknown in any part of the world for various reasons. To keep returning to ancient Greece, because that's what I know best, there's the story of Iphigenia, whom Agamemnon had to kill his own daughter as a sacrifice to get the winds to let them sail to Troy, which act also caused his own downfall because his wife never forgave him. But there are stories of human sacrifice in all sorts of places often for reasons like this, often as a self-sacrifice for something related to the land, or the weather. So I don't know how people come to this conclusion, to be honest. But I guess if you are used to the sacrifice of animals to appease the gods, it kind of makes sense as the next step. It's heartbreaking.
Aggi embraced her daughter. Ibni whispered something, but I could not catch the words. Both women's faces shone with tears. Aggi sat on the ceremonial stone, the tears streaming now from all of us. Aggi delivered her final message. She told us her body must not be burned or given to the sea, but lain in the earth of the island beneath the mountain. Ibni was shaking, and then I realized it was not just Ibni. The whole island was trembling under our feet, waking up. Aggi told Ibni to be quick, the end was coming.
Oh. That wasn't what I meant to do at all. Hope I don't have to do it all again, but I probably do. Oh no, there we
We
are.
heard the shell and knew Aggi had returned. Some of the young... But Aggi... I offered my... Aggi embraced her daughter. Ibni whispered. Aggi delivered her final message. She told us her body must not be burned or given to the sea, but lain in the earth of the island beneath the mountain. Ibni was shaking, and then I realized it was not just Ibni. The whole island was trembling under our feet, waking up. Aggi told Ibni to be quick, the end was coming.
There we are.
As Aggi took Ibni's hand and guided the knife to her side, we saw the fish folk rising from the sea, hundreds of them, so many. I had no idea there were so many.
Yeah, no toast.
Aggi was quiet the whole time, but Ibni cried out. A sound of longing and hurting from her heart like I had never heard. Then she fell silent, and as Aggi's life poured from her body, the island and everything on it fell suddenly still. Utterly still. We wept then, in sorrow and relief. Then the fish folk were among us, countless, numberless. One embraced Ibni, holding her up as it seemed her own legs might give way. When the sun came up that day, land and sea folk stood together for the first time, talking and singing the old songs, Aggi's songs, together.
So Aggi first brought the fish folk to the land. Or they came because of her, I suppose, is more accurate.
Ibni and the
I wonder
fish folk
why.
took Aggi up
I mean,
onto
like,
the mountain.
they saw she was special, but
They
why?
laid her in the peat alongside the knife and all the things she would need on her journey.
Burial practices are fascinating across cultures. They're often things of such care, remembering the person who's gone and what they meant to the living and what they'd done with their lives. Some understanding of an afterlife in which they would continue, often there, buried with things that they loved or with things that they would need for a journey, as in, Egyptian burials where, they're entombed with, beloved animals and food and other offerings to take with them into the land of the dead. We do see, there are some Bronze Age burials that are much more elaborate than this. Here she is going straight into the peat to enact her own preservation. They apparently would have cremated her otherwise, which is, a valid form of burial practice and memorial.
Ibni watched over Aggi for days afterwards. Before she was covered, she placed a sacred carved stone, Aggi's beloved hair, inside her mother's mouth, to guide her and help her keep the mountain still forever. And so it was.
Ew. All right then. I guess there's a stone inside Aggie's mouth.
Aggi. Now that's bravery.
Oh. Taking her apart piece by piece. Until there it is. A sacred carved stone.
Hey,
golden hair.
Sparky, it feels a bit disrespectful looking inside Aggie's body like that.
You were the one who dug her up and put her on a plinth, Morris.
Yeah, but I
Relax, Morris. This body isn't Aggie anymore.
You
She's
should
long
always
past
treat
needing
human
this old
remains
thing.
respectfully. And
well,
animal
all
remains
right
too,
then.
honestly. But human remains meant something to their descendants, to those left behind. And all humans were people at one point.
Okay, Morris.
But then, why did we need to visit the Bronze Age?
Aggie thought it was important for you to see those memories, so you would understand her path before you met her. But also, wasn't it cool?
That it was.
It was cool. I want
The
the
things
ability
I've
to do
seen
that.
now.
If that's what I get
Sparky,
as an afterlife,
thank you so much.
I'll be real happy.
To think, for a while there, I was worried that being dead was gonna be boring.
You are very welcome, Morris.
Yes.
There she is.
Morris, Sparky, it's so good to see you both.
Hey, Aggie.
You, wait, you
Now
know me?
she
Of
has a
course
Celtic
I do.
accent.
Morris Lupton, one of the best loved men in the history of Shelmerston,
Oh.
with the very finest dog.
Me? Oh, I don't know.
Come now, let's go out of this place, into the air.
The one part of Shelmerston that looks just the same as the first day I saw it. I suppose it always will.
I love
It
this
won't.
beach. It's always been my favorite beach. I'm gonna go run.
Aggie, look at Sparky. She's shining.
That's the hope and the joy shining out of her.
That's it, isn't it? The point of all of this.
It is hope, home. This island, it chose the two of you just as it
I
chose
knew
me.
it.
And where will you be heading now? Heaven or something?
Into the
Heaven, what's that?
Well, I don't quite know how to explain it. But to me, it would be an awful lot like this beach.
I don't know where I'm going, but I'm hoping to see Ibni, my daughter.
Maybe I was wrong about that.
It's been a very long time, but I remember her. We never forget the ones we love, do we, Morris?
No, I don't suppose we do.
I think she wants something, Morris.
Huh. Would you look at that? I just found a tennis ball in my pocket. Here you are, girl.
Wasn't that beautiful? Oh. I'm gonna let the credits play, but I suppose that's really all for today. I'm gonna take a little break now that we've finished this game. We're gonna try and pick something up in, I think, 2 weeks. Yeah, I should be able to do 2 weeks. If you do have any requests for what I play next, please do let me know. I'm always happy to hear about new games to play. I have a couple of different ideas in mind. I'm not exactly sure which one will come to, but I'm looking forward to it. This is such a charming little game. It really is. I think it would be fun to go and hunt down all the Gremkins and stuff, but perhaps another time. I'll probably come back to it someday. I wonder where Aggi is going. I guess not even the ghosts know. Just into the west. Someday, erosion will change that beach, even if the volcano doesn't. Oh, it's lovely that the music, we had 2 accordionists. Cute. The music was all on actual instruments rather than synthesized. I always like it when that happens. My partner always likes it when that happens. I usually don't notice, to be honest. But it's also nice. Mr. Whitstable. I do kind of want to know what's up with that. Stella the cormorant. Ornette the fox. Oh. Winkle Bob. I just still really love that as a name. Yeah, and Kirk was meant to be the same person, it looks like. I would have loved to know more about the Teapukitan. We really only got to hear from, what's her name, Blythe? The one who was married to Samfire. Annapurna has put out some really good games. I was thinking about Indivisible the other day. Just beautiful hand-drawn animation. Another really deeply, just beautiful cultural exploration in that game. Not a game that I can play. I don't understand fighting games. Oh, it's Blythe and Sam. Oh, what did you stop? I guess that's the end. Thanks so much for coming on this journey with me, folks. I'll see you in probably 2-3 weeks.